Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, here with you for another post-game Facebook Live video. We were not on the air last week, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, when the Steelers beat the Detroit Lions on Sunday Night Football. It was a really late night for me as I prepared the site, but at the same time, we are simulcasting this live. We're on Facebook Live right now, as well as on YouTube. If you're watching this or listening to this and you did not know that we also have a YouTube channel, I highly recommend you check us out there and search BTSC Steelers Radio. You'll get that and all our podcasts that we just on the internet. But for those of us watching on Facebook, welcome. If you're not on our Facebook page, you should be. Facebook.com/Behind the Steel Curtain, all one word. Now, there's a lot to talk about in this game. Clearly, the Steelers win 20-17. It was ugly. And as I said in recap, ugly has become the new norm of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they're finding ways to win. And here they are, they go back to Pittsburgh on a short break. And, you know, there's a lot of people already on our Facebook feed that are asking about Joe Hayden. Now, I just read, we did get a little bit of an update on Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden has a fracture, all that we know, from the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's make that very clear right away. We don't have any specifics other than Mike Tomlin said it was high in the leg. He even said himself, I don't know what that means. So there are some medical experts out there that have said injury, which they, from what they've gathered so far, believe that this will not require surgery. So I've just recently, I'm talking within 10 minutes, wrote an article for the website using some of this information that it could be anywhere from a 4 to 8 week recovery. 4 weeks with a broken bone in your body without surgery seems very, very quick. With that said, if it were a 4-week injury, that would mean that Joe Hayden could possibly return for the Patriots game in Week 15. I don't think that will happen. An 8-week injury, you're looking into the postseason. You're assuming the Steelers get there. You're assuming that they would obviously maybe get a first-round bye. That would certainly help a guy coming off an injury like that. But nonetheless, the season is not over unless it's more to the 8-week variety and the Steelers don't make the playoffs. So a lot of people right now, and several on Facebook underneath the article that I published, stated that they've heard that he's done. Remember, indefinitely doesn't mean he's done. Reserved, and it doesn't mean that he's done. What are the Steelers going to do at cornerback? That's a common question that's trying to be asked right now. To me, the answer is pretty obvious. Cameron Sutton, who's their third-round draft pick from Tennessee, is able to come back and rejoin the team. He was put on injured reserve with a hamstring injury the fourth preseason games. They put him on injured reserve. With the emergence of Mike Hilton, it wasn't needed. So what are they going to do? My guess is they're going to put Joe Hayden on injured reserve. They're going to bring Cam Sutton off of the injured reserve and put him on the active roster. And that's his answer. Now, will Cam Sutton be able to play the outside? I don't know. How will they move those pieces around? Cody Sensabaugh came in today, and he was doing Joe Hayden's job. They didn't follow anybody around. He made a good pass breakup on T.Y. Hilton. He didn't play poorly when he was given a chance in the preseason, so keep that in mind. Or will they throw Cam Sutton out there? Cam Sutton typically thrives in the slot, and that's currently where Mike Hilton has owned, and he played well again today, as well as William Gay when they go into their dime package. So that's certainly what I see happening when it comes to the Joe Hayden situation and what they're going to do at cornerback. A couple people have asked about Mike Mitchell. Mike Tomlin did not state whether this was a re-aggravated ankle injury. He was it was more of an Achilles injury. Over the bye week, Tomlin mentioned how they shut him down. They didn't have him working out. They didn't have him training. They didn't have him practicing. And because of that, they thought that he was good to go and he played. But obviously a different ankle, could be the same ankle, we don't know. But on a short week, and that's something we all need to keep in mind, myself included, is that the Steelers don't have the typical work week this week. They play on Thursday night against the Tennessee Titans. So that means that tomorrow, Monday, will be Mike Tomlin's press conference. They will practice Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday as they prepare for the Titans on Thursday at Heinz Field. So I don't think Mike Mitchell's going to play this week unless it turns out to be a very minor injury, but he was carted off the field. It doesn't look good. I wouldn't expect Mike Mitchell to play this week, but Vance McDonald was also injured with an ankle. He came back in and played. Darius Hayward-Bay, he was hurt with a foot or a toe as Tomlin. He was able to come back and play. James Conner limped off the field, but he was able to stay in and play on special teams. So, but the biggest news is that, in my opinion, as bad as this game was, and this was the game that they typically lose, the Pittsburgh Steelers typically lose. They had lost 3 straight bye week. They go on the road, sub 500 team. We all know the record, and they find a way to win. But more importantly, if you haven't read it on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, got a little of that Big Ben swagger when it mattered. It wasn't the big touchdown pass or anything like that, but with 3 minutes and 10 seconds left in the game, Ben Roethlisberger gets the football in his hands, and he orchestrates a game-winning drive for the game-winning field goal. That's something we haven't seen in a long time from Roethlisberger. I remember the days, and it wasn't all that long ago, when Roethlisberger was automatic in these situations. I mean, that Ben Roethlisberger was Captain Clutch. If he had the ball in the fourth quarter and they were only down by us, there's no doubt about it, he was going to get the job done. But hasn't happened as much, but it happens again today. It was good to see. He found his cape, as I put it in the article, and they needed it. They needed it at the right time. So there we have that. We have the news of Joe Hayden and the injuries. We have the win. It was ugly. Let's answer some questions. So if you're on our Facebook feed right now and you want to if you have questions, by all means, fire away. I'll do the best that I can to answer. There's a lot of questions coming in, a lot of comments coming in already. I appreciate all that. By all that, let's have at it. So Francisco asked, what was up with all the conversion? From what Mike Tomlin stated after the game, he basically said that they didn't like the look, and that was a big play. You know, you're down by 2 points, have been at a premium. Exactly what exactly were they going to do? You want to make sure you have the right play. So they get the right personnel, but then the delay game, it was just bad. And that kind of epitomizes, in my opinion, epitomized the game. Sloppy, unprepared. I don't want the ending to take away the fact that this was not a good game by the Steelers. Yeah, the injuries were big, and Roethlisberger got them the win, which was huge. But ultimately, this was a team that, in my opinion, probably spent more time preparing for the Titans over the bye week than they did the Colts. And you might lambaste me in the comments, but that's the truth. Teams do this. Thursday night game, you typically start your preparation for that Thursday night team before you play the week before. They probably thought that they could walk into Lucas Oil Stadium and roll, and they should have been able to do that, but nonetheless. But I've always said, and this is something that Lance Williams and I say on our Wednesday night podcast, the standard is the standard, is that you'd rather win and correct. And so the Pittsburgh Steelers win. They're 7-2. It wasn't pretty. There were, but there were also some good plays as well. If we want to talk about winners and losers, we can do that. Haven't written that article yet. Not sure if I'm going to publish it today or tomorrow. Everything shakes out in terms of content, but what I want to say is, who do you think would be a winner for the Steelers? I know off the top of my head, I would say that Mike Hilton would be a winner. These questions of players, I thought Le'Veon Bell played well too. I had a deceiving final numbers. I'll have to look those up quickly. Probably had close to 100 yards rushing. Wasn't smooth sailing, but he made good plays. Good in blitz pickup, something that he doesn't get a lot of credit for. He's very good at. You give a guy like Ryan Shazier, who missed a lot of tackles. I mean, a lot of tackles, but comes up with a key interception that sets up a touchdown. Euster, as Vincent points out, he's looking phenomenal. There are rumors that the Steelers are worried all the success is going to go to his head. I just find it refreshing personally that he seems equally as excited for others when they make a play as he is when he makes a play. You don't see the, oh, great, Martavis Bryant caught a 2-point conversion. I'm going to go sulk because the play didn't come to me. Or you don't see the, oh, Antonio Brown has a big play, or Le'Veon Bell. He's excited for everyone. And I think that his attitude is, refreshing, but it's also, in my opinion, it's kind of what the team should be. A close, cohesive unit that is focused on one thing and one thing only: winning. A lot of people were on Twitter, and I talk about, beat writers and things, and, oh, what's Antonio Brown going to say? He should be saying that the Steelers won the football game. To quote the great Herm Edwards, you play to win the game. And if everyone's buying in to the fact that, you hear people all the time, Ben Roethlisberger, Mike Tomlin, all we focus about are wins and losses. Well, if that's the truth, pushing staff down to players, then they should not complain. Travis with a good point come through. Absolutely. Great catch on the 2-point conversion. The football might have hit the ground, but he didn't. Did a great job securing the catch. That was huge. And then also the big conversion in the last game-winning drive, which put them over midfield, and then it was Antonio Brown with a 32-yarder to really put them into the ice that came out scenario where they were able to run the ball twice with Bell, and then they were able to kick the game-winning field goal as a chip shot. I think we could come up with a lot more losers than we could winners after this game. Special teams was bad again. But, here's the thing. If I'm going to put winners on this column, you know who else I'm going to put in there? I think Jordan Berry played well. The ball well. He also hustled his rear end off on the blocked extra point, which could have equated to 2 points for the Colts. A lot of people might forget that play. Jesse James as well. For as poorly as Jesse James blocked today, and it was atrocious. If you want to go back and watch someone put on a clinic on how to mess up in the running game, watch Jesse James, because he did a horrible job. But he hustled his butt off on that play. They caught up to the ball carrier, stopped him before he could score, and they kept it close. That's important. Could possibly be on the winners list. But the losers in general, the special teams I thought were bad. Chris Boswell missed I think a relatively chip shot field goal for him, especially with the fact that it was inside. There's no wind. There's no elements. You expect your kicker to make those, but I guess you give him a pass from time to time. Other losers, like I said, Ryan Shazier could be on the loser list. He had a lot of missed tackles. He wasn't alone, but it seemed like every time the football, it was an arm tackle that was broken, and all of a sudden it's a big gain going the other way. Ben Roethlisberger could be on the losers list. He didn't play well. Antonio Brown had some really strange things happen during the game. And what I mean by that is the pass down the sideline, which wasn't that bad of a throw. Brown is fading into the sideline. I don't know if he saw the safety coming over, was maybe hearing the footsteps. That's the kind of game this was. It was weird. You think about it, Vince Williams has a great tackle on Frank Gore, strips the football, recovers his own forced fumble, that his forward progress was stopped. Meanwhile, on the next sequence, when the Steelers get the ball back, what the heck is going on where they get Le'Veon Bell literally has 5 guys jumping on his back, and then they blow the whistle. So here's the thing. You can obviously go and talk about winners and losers and all that stuff, but it was just a strange game. This is one of those games the Steelers typically lose. This game eerily reminded me of the Chicago Bears game in Week 3. They came out, they throw an interception, just like in the first series of Chicago. Martavis Bryant drops what would be a touchdown, and it just seemed like things were spiraling out of control. But in the second half, you saw a defense that started to remember, hey, you have a week off. It's understandable that you might take some time to get back into the swing of things, but boy, they started getting after Brissett. Stephon Tuitt recorded his first sack. Dupree had a sack. Phenomenal performance, I thought, by the defense in the second half. If you negate that 61-yard touchdown in the third quarter, they've really limited the Colts to 2 big plays. And so defense, if they can hold someone off 20, keep someone off of 20 points, the offense would be able to do a job. So let's see if we can get some more questions or comments. Hey, Anthony says Shazier for Defensive Player of the Year. Anthony, I would love to say that I agree with you, but personally, I don't think he makes enough of the regular plays to really a winner for that award. I think he should get votes. I think he should be, but you just watch the plays that he misses, and it's so frustrating. If he could shore up some of those tackles for losses and really be a dominant force in the backfield and not miss tackles all the time, heck, the guy has more interceptions than most defensive backs. Just has a knack for making plays. It's one of those, I've said it before on this show and other shows, he's an all or nothing player. It's either all or it's absolutely nothing. Unfortunately, sometimes you see the both in one game, and that's exactly what they've said. Some people are suggesting Mike Mitchell was not playing well. I didn't notice him playing poorly today. I'm not saying that he's been the best, played his best this season, but at the same time, you have to look at who's going to be after him. So let's say Mike Mitchell can't play on Thursday against the Tennessee Titans. Who's going to play in his stead? Well, it could be J.J. Wilcox. They got him from Tampa Bay prior to the season, or it could be Robert Golden. Nonetheless, you're lacking experience and you're lacking athleticism now in the back half. So, as Art just said, short week. Absolutely, it's going to be tough on a short week. So the Tennessee Titans, who lost to the Bengals today, are going to be on the road for Thursday Night Football, Heinz Field. And one thing to mention about that, the Pittsburgh Steelers, 4 road games left in the last 7 games of the season. And it's really strange to see a schedule set up like this. They play at Cincinnati, and then they play at Houston on Christmas Day, on Monday night. So the rest of their schedule is at home, at Heinz Field. And so I think if Pittsburgh is going to really try to make a push, they're really going to try to not just a push for the playoffs. The Steelers have a 3 in the AFC North. You want to say 3.5 considering the 10. And they are currently, because the Patriots don't play until Sunday night, the lone team atop the AFC standings. You're not talking playoffs. You're talking home field advantage. You're talking number 1 seed. And so if that's the case, you're set up for success. You don't play well on the road. Well, guess what? 5 of your last 7 games are at home. So it's time for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I think should be very, very well prepared for this game on Thursday night. I don't think it's going to be the best game in terms of execution. Thursday night games never are. If you think that you're going to come out and see, a absolute dime of a game from Roethlisberger and defense that's just all over the field, it's just probably not going to happen. So lower your expectations a little bit, but the Steelers should be able to do enough to win. We'll talk about that game a lot on our Wednesday podcast, which is our preview show for the upcoming week. The standard is a standard. So Cameron Hayward played most of the game, didn't really notice him on the field. He was there. He was getting pushed. The problem with the Steelers, especially in the first half, the defensive front was getting so much push that they were actually going right by the ball carrier or the quarterback. And that's an issue. And so in the second half, you saw him holding his lane more, and his success there doing that led to success for others. Vince Williams sack, Bud Dupree sack. All these players that were able to get to Brissett was because Cameron Hayward was doing his job. Said Tennessee won, didn't they? You know what? I don't know if they certainly look and see. Maybe they did win. I was following as much as I could today. Let's see if you have any other questions or comments, by all means, fire away. I'll do this as long as you all want to, basically. So, looking at I'll recap some of the games that were. Steelers obviously win. Sorry for the cameras moving. Trying to find it. Well, we'll figure it out. Here we go. You know what? For some reason, I can't find it. See, I'm sorry. The Titans did win 24-20. They came back to beat the Bengals. That's a very Cincinnati thing to do. But with that said, I think it's a good time to stop. I think Steeler fans ultimately should understand that it's great that the Steelers won. And I talked to a friend of mine, a fraternity brother of mine from college, actually, and he said, man, I just don't understand it. They play down to their opponents. I said, well, look, Tennessee's a good football team. And so if the narrative is true that they play up and down to their competition, then the Steelers should be able to handle the Tennessee Titans. And I think that in a lot of ways, this is actually a true statement. The Steelers play well, and they play well at home. They play well against teams that are pretty tough. So keep that in mind. Art asked about Sutton. I think he'll be activated this week. I wouldn't be surprised to see Joe Hayden put an injured reserve. That does not mean that means you will also probably see Brian Allen get a helmet more often than he already. Vincent says James Conner. I thought James Conner looked good. He had 1 carry for 11 yards, really showed some burst. Maybe they can mix him in this week on a short week. It would be good to see. But anyways, if you're following us on YouTube, that's awesome. If you haven't, go to youtube.com, search BTSC Steelers Radio. You'll see my lovely face as well as hear my voice. If you follow us on iTunes, do so. If you go to your iTunes store, type in The Standard is the Standard to get all the BTSC podcasts, and on Facebook.com/Behind the Steel Curtain. I'm Jeff Hardman, editor of Behind the Steel Curtain. I'll see you next time. Bye.